Welcome back to another episode of Divine Journey 2. In the last episode, we revamped our Britannia setup, so now mostly everything is automated, and we also automated our blood magic slates. The plan for today's episode is we're going to get the tier 6 altar caps, as well as getting access to the rainbow tablets, which will unlock chapter 19, which is Thaumcraft. And also, we're going to get the Gaia pylons to be able to fight the Guardian of Gaia. And that is also going to unlock a couple of various things. So to actually fight the Guardian of Gaia, we need 4 Gaia pylons. But yeah, to actually summon the Gaia, we need the 4 Gaia pylons in the 4 corners, then a beacon with some blocks of iron. And to actually summon the Gaia, we just have to shift right click on a beacon with some Terra Steel. There we go. And the first stage is pretty easy. It's difficult until it's not difficult until he gets to a quarter health. And that's where he's going to actually go into his second phase, where he starts spawning mobs. We'll get there in a second. And in his second stage, we can't actually hit him. We have to wait for him to stop spawning mobs. For the second tier of Gaia Guardian, we need a Gaia Spirit Ingot, and it takes 4 Gaia Spirits, 1 Terra Steel, and 4 Mystical Tablets. And those Mystical Tablets just come from dropping regular magical tablets in a mana pool with an Alchemy Catalyst. And the ritual to summon it is the same, but basically instead of using Terra Steel, you're using a Gaia Spirit Ingot. Now that we have our Gaia Spirit Ingots, we can make our empty Blood Orb and put it in the Blood Infuser to get the Evil Blood Orb. And that's actually what's going to be required for the Tier 6 Blood Orb. And to actually get our Tier 6 Blood Altar, we're going to need to make the capstones for Tier 6, which are the crystal clusters here. And this is quite expensive since it takes 4 Demon Blood Shards, 4 Magical Tablets, and an Angelic Silicon Crystal block each. So yeah, and we need 4 of them. That was very expensive. And with that, we now have our Tier 6 Blood Altar. And to actually get the orb, we just need to place the Evil Blood Orb in the Blood Altar, and this takes 240,000 LP. So I'm gonna wait here a bit. And there we go. There's our Tier 6 Blood Orb. Now that we have our Tier 6 Blood Altar, the only thing remaining from this Rainbow Tablet craft is the Rainbow Slates. And that's just regular Tier 5 slates in a Tier 6 Blood Altar. After a little waiting, we can finally make our first Rainbow Tablet. And with that, we have unlocked Chapter 19, which is Thaumcraft. Very first thing we're going to do with these rainbow tablets is actually crush them down into Salus Mundus. Now that we have our first Salus Mundus, we can use this duplication recipe to pretty much get infinitely more without having to go down the rainbow tablet rabbit hole. So that is a great improvement already. Alright, I spent a quick second here setting up the crystallized mana automation, and we're just using blocks of mana diamonds since these give the regular crystallized mana, which we can just compact down into the shards and then use in the duplication recipe. Now, to actually begin Thaumcraft, we have to make our Thaumonomicon, which requires a bookshelf and some Salus Mundus. We also need 2 more things to get started on our Thaumcraft journey, mainly the Endercrafter, and if we throw some Salus Mundus on it, we'll get our Arcane Workbench. And I almost forgot, before we craft the Crucible, we actually have to unlock the research for it. So I just picked up the Arcane Workbench. If we complete it, we have to make the Thermometer. With 8 Holy Cores and a Mana Lens, the Kindle version, we can make our Thermometer. And now that we have our Thermometer, we can start going around and scanning things like this Thaumonomicon, for example, or I guess the big ass doesn't have anything. And basically with this Thermometer, we want to go around and scanning things in-world and also in inventory. And if we scan different things, we'll get different research, as well as unlocking different different aspects, that's the word I'm looking for. Basically, we just want to go around unlocking all the different aspects of Thaumcraft, so I'm going to do a bit of scanning, and I'll come back. And to actually progress, we're going to have to do a bit of research, and to do that, we're going to need some scribing tools. And we also need our cauldron, which is just some Salus Mundus on a purifier. Since we're going to be doing a ton of Crucible recipes that require different aspects, I went ahead and gathered up a wisp and made a powered spawner for it. So now we're getting pretty much all of the different aspects all passively now. And that's just, this setup's not going to be a long term, that's just going to be for our initial aspect gathering. But I let that run for a bit, and we have enough aspects to make our 4 magical infused leather. And to actually make the magical infused leather, it's 10 Recantatio, 5 Bestia, 5 Aurum, and 5 Spiritus, and 1 blood infused leather. And we just have to repeat this 3 more times. Next up, we have to make our 3 enhanced ender ingots, but we're actually short some Spiritus. So the way in Thaumcraft to actually get more of the aspects is to melt various items in the Crucible, and they have different values for different aspects. So if we throw 4 soul sand in, for example, in the Crucible, well, I actually can't see it, but if we throw some quartz slivers in, I'll actually get the crystals of the aspect back. We now have enough to make our enhanced ender ingots, and it takes 20 Spiritus, 15 Metallum, 15 Alienus, and 5 Soul, and 1 Ender Ingot. Alright, I made up a few more enhanced Ender Ingots, and we can now start making our pedestals as well as the crafting core. And for the pedestals, it's 1 enhanced Ender Ingot, 3 black iron ingots, and a clean runic plate in the Ender Crafter. And for the actual crafting core, it's 3 enhanced Ender Ingots, 4 clean runic plates, 1 black iron frame, and 1 pedestal. To progress further in Thaumcraft, we're going to have to make our Caster's Gauntlet, but this takes an infused magical core, which then takes this Garmon Bosia which comes from materialized vengeance essence, and that actually takes vengeance essence. And to actually get this vengeance essence, you have to use the piercing vengeance focus on a spirit. So I came to the end here and I'm gonna search for an Enderman. We kill it, and then use the focus. We should get some spirits after we kill it. Like that. There's our vengeance essence. And to actually get our materialized vengeance essence, we just have to do a simple alloy smelter craft with 4 vengeance essence, 4 magicals, and 4 prasadium. And we just have to run this through the blood infuser. And there is our Garmonbosia. And to make our infused magical core, it's 2 Salus Mundus, 3 bottles of enchanting, the Garmonbosia, and a magical core in the center. And with that, we can make our caster's gauntlet. To make our goggles of revealing, we're going to have to make some alchemical brass, and that's done in the crucible with 10 instrumentum and 10 cognito and 1 elementium. And to start making our thaumium, it's 10 precantatio, 10 metallum, 10 alchemia, and 10 exanimus, and 1 alchemical brass. And with a little more Thaumcraft research, we can make our goggles of revealing. We could actually turn this into a dark steel upgrade and apply it to our helmet. So now we don't have to take off our helmet, and we get the same bonus that we would if we had the regular goggles of revealing on. After a bit more crafting and research, we can make our Essentia Smeltery. Right now, our Essentia Smeltery is pretty useless, as we have no way to get the aspects out of it. So to do that, we're going to make some arcane alembics. Next up, we're going to need some sodium ingots, which comes from crystallizing the crystallized sodium cluster, and that comes from crystallized sodium and the sodium shards. And the shards come from alchemical brass. So the quest book said to make 41 alchemical brass. So I'm going to wait for all of this to crystallize, and I'll be back. To progress any further, we're going to have to go to our next Divine RPG dimension. And to make the portal frame, it's 4 thaumium plates, some Salus Mundus, some morphic resonators, a Gaia Spirit ingot, and 6 alienist V crystals. Now that we're in Skythern, we need to look for the dungeon and find the door key. So I'm going to do that real quick. Alright, I found the Skythern dungeon. So if we go through here, the quest said it was a maze, so we should find the key somewhere. And there's our Skythern door key. Now we can finally unlock the door. our Skythern boss door key. Right. Yes. Time for the boss fight. Now that we have our foreknowledge of the skies, we can make our matrix multiplication unit. And that's one black hole unit in the center. Or I guess 4 rainbow tablets on the sides. And foreknowledge of the skies. And with that, we can make our runic matrix. Another thing we need for our runic matrix is some arcane pedestals, and that's just some extended crafting pedestals and some ritual stone. Alright, we can start building our infusion matrix multi-block now. And to actually do that, it's 4, or actually 8 arcane stone in a pattern like that. A pedestal on the bottom, and then a block in between. And then the runic matrix on top. And if we activate it with some Salus Mundus, we now have our infusion matrix. And when placing the pedestals around the matrix, you generally want to have some symmetry, as that will keep the infusion stable. So we're probably going to go for a pattern like this, where there's 2 on all the 4 corners right now, since we only have 8 pedestals. And if we activate the runic matrix with our caster's gauntlet, we are now able to start making some infusion recipes. We can start doing some infusion crafting now. And along with the items needed for the craft, we also need some different aspects. For example, for the alchemical constructs, we need 20 alchemia as well as 20 machina. And to actually transfer the mana into the actual recipe, we have to use these warded jars here. And to actually fill them with the aspect, we have to melt down the V crystal. And it'll go into the alembics, and then I just have an essentia tube, and it'll go into the warded jar. I'm going to collect up enough for 4 crafts, which is 80 of each aspect, and I'll be back. Alright, I gathered up the 80 required essentia for both machina and alchemia. So the recipe takes 1 cosmic alloy in the center, 2 regular essentia tubes, 2 essentia valves, and 4 arcane stone. And generally, when you're doing infusion, you want to balance the items as well to make sure everything's stable. But if we click, we should get a craft. Now that we have our 2 alchemical constructs, or 4 I should say, the first 2 we're going to use on upgrading our essentia smeltery to the thaumium version, which is basically, it lowers the chance of it voiding the aspect when it smelts. I'm also going to invest in the thaumaturge set, as it gives a nice V discount when crafting in the arcane crafting table. And to do this, it's just some enchanted fabric and the mana weave set. And the enchanted fabric wasn't so bad, it was just the elementium that took a little while to craft. but everything else was pretty easy. But here's the boots, the leggings, and finally the robe. And with that, I think I'm going to end this episode here. So yeah, thanks for watching.